Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're re-diving into one of the most bizarre and talked about cases to ever hit the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It's a story that starts with a frantic 911 call, shuts down a major highway overnight, and ends in a way no one could have ever predicted. This is the story of the Great Dallas Freeway Abduction, a case that's part thriller, part tragedy, and somehow part comedy. Our story begins on a Tuesday night, just after 11 p.m. Traffic on Interstate 35 was thinning out as the city wound down. That's when the first call came into the Dallas 911 dispatch. The caller was a truck driver, his voice trembling with panic. He reported seeing a woman being forcibly dragged from a stalled car on the shoulder of the highway and thrown into the back of a nondescript white van. He said the van then sped off, weaving dangerously through what little traffic there was. Within minutes, more calls flooded the emergency lines. A college student heading home from a late class. A couple on their way back from the airport. They all told a similar story: a woman in distress, a struggle, and a white van that vanished into the night. The descriptions were chaotic but consistent enough to spark alarm. The police knew they had to act fast. An Amber Alert was immediately considered, but they had a problem. They didn't know who the victim was. Her car, a silver sedan, was found abandoned on the shoulder, doors unlocked, purse still on the passenger seat, but her ID and phone were missing. The decision was made to shut down the highway. That's right, a complete shutdown of a major artery of a major American city. Police cars formed a blockade, redirecting stunned drivers onto service roads. It was a logistical nightmare, creating miles-long backups that lasted well into the early morning. The news choppers were hovering, their spotlights sweeping across the eerily empty stretch of concrete. The city was holding its breath. Had a violent kidnapping just happened in plain sight? Investigators swarmed the scene. They dusted the abandoned car for prints, searched the surrounding grassy areas, and began reviewing traffic camera footage. The media, of course, was having a field day. Headlines screamed Freeway Phantom and Highway Horror. Online sleuths and armchair detectives immediately went to work, spinning theories that ranged from a targeted professional hit to a random act of brutal violence. The pressure on the Dallas Police Department was immense. They had an entire city on edge and a ghost for a victim. The first break in the case came from the abandoned sedan. The car was registered to a woman named Brenda Mae Thompson, a 45-year-old librarian from a quiet Dallas suburb. Her family was contacted, and they were hysterical. They confirmed Brenda was supposed to be home hours ago from her weekly book club meeting. She was a gentle soul, they said, someone who wouldn't hurt a fly. The thought of her being abducted was their worst nightmare. Now with a name and a face, the investigation kicked into high gear. Detectives re-interviewed the eyewitnesses. This is where things started to get a little strange. While everyone agreed they saw a struggle, the details began to diverge wildly. The truck driver was sure the abductor was a large man with a beard. The college student swore it was two younger men in hoodies. The couple from the airport insisted the woman was screaming for her life. But another witness, a late-night delivery driver, remembered something different. He thought the woman wasn't screaming in terror, but rather in frustration. He even thought he heard her yell something like, "Harold, you idiot, you're going to break my new shoes." The police were baffled. Was this a clue or just the confusion of a chaotic moment? They decided to focus on the name, Harold. They ran Brenda's known associates, and sure enough, there he was. Harold Thompson, her husband of 20 years. On paper, Harold was as unremarkable as Brenda. He was an accountant, a model train enthusiast, and a member of the local neighborhood watch. He had no criminal record. When officers arrived at his home, they found Harold calmly tending to his prize-winning roses in the front yard. When they asked him about Brenda's whereabouts, Harold's face fell. He told them a story that was, frankly, unbelievable. He explained that Brenda's car, the Silver Lemon as he called it, had been acting up for weeks. He'd told her not to drive it, but she was stubborn. That night, she called him from the highway, furious that the car had died, just as he predicted. He told her he'd come get her. This is where the story takes its comical turn. Harold owned a white van that he used for his weekend hobby, transporting large, elaborate setups for his model train conventions. When he arrived on the scene, he found Brenda fuming. She refused to leave her newly detailed car on the side of the road. An argument ensued. According to Harold, it was a classic Thompson family squabble, just amplified by the whoosh of passing traffic. Brenda, in her frustration, dramatically sat down on the pavement and refused to move. Harold, a man not known for his subtlety or his patience, decided to take matters into his own hands. He literally picked up his wife, all 5'2" of her, and carried her, kicking and protesting, to his van. He admitted she was yelling, but she was yelling things like, "Put me down, you big oaf. And this is the last time I listen to you about anything." He bundled her into the passenger seat, not the back, and they drove home, bickering the entire way. The detectives listening to this story were stunned into silence. Could this entire citywide panic, the highway shutdown, the media frenzy, be the result of a marital spat? It seemed too absurd to be true. But they had to check. They asked Harold where Brenda was now. He pointed to the front door. "She's inside," he said, "probably still mad at me. She's giving me the silent treatment." Sure enough, officers went inside and found Brenda Mae Thompson, safe and sound, sitting on her couch, watching the news coverage about her own abduction with a cup of tea. When she saw the police, she just rolled her eyes. "Oh, for heaven's sake," she said. "Did he really tell you he rescued me? He practically threw me in that van like a sack of potatoes. I was so embarrassed." The relief was immense, but it was quickly followed by a sense of sheer absurdity. The entire highway was shut down for hours, thousands of people were inconvenienced, and a massive police operation was launched. Because a husband and wife had a fight. The victim wasn't a victim at all, just a very annoyed wife. And the abductor was just a husband who made a very, very poor decision in how he chose to resolve a roadside argument. Once the truth came out, the public reaction was a mix of relief, amusement, and a fair bit of anger. People who were stuck in that traffic jam for hours were not laughing. The Thompsons became local celebrities overnight, for all the wrong reasons. They were the subjects of morning talk shows and newspaper articles. People couldn't decide if Harold was a well-meaning but clueless husband or a complete moron. And here's the touching, and slightly tragic, part of the story. The incident, as embarrassing as it was, became a turning point for the Thompsons. In interviews later, they admitted their marriage had been on autopilot for years. The abduction was the culmination of years of small arguments and a lack of communication. The public scrutiny forced them to actually talk to each other, to face the ridiculousness of their situation and, in turn, their relationship. They went to marriage counseling. They learned to communicate their frustrations without resorting to dramatic roadside standoffs. Harold even sold the infamous white van and bought Brenda a new, reliable car. In a strange way, the night their marriage literally stopped traffic was the night they started to fix it. Their story became a local legend, a cautionary tale about communication, and a reminder that sometimes the most dramatic events have the most mundane explanations. It's a story of a shocking abduction that wasn't, a suspenseful manhunt that ended with a cup of tea, and a tragedy that ultimately, and hilariously, saved a marriage. And there you have it. The case that shut down a Dallas freeway because of a husband and wife tiff. It just goes to show, you never really know the full story behind the flashing lights. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story as wild as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories. See you in the next one.